Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to Jamie Photography. You might say, "Oh no, not another sky replacement." But I tell you what, this image really lends itself to a sky replacement, and I thought I'd talk you through some of the sort of finer details regarding sky replacements. And if you do enjoy doing these sort of types of composites, they really do help you create a scene from maybe you went somewhere to shoot something and the weather wasn't perfect, the sky wasn't good, you didn't get that perfect sunrise or sunset. So, hey, we can pop it in. And remember, this is all about having fun. And for me, I enjoy doing these things. And I'm so grateful that you follow me here on YouTube. If you haven't already subscribed, it'd be great for you to join me because we're almost at 20,000. I never believed I could make 20,000 subscription. So if you have already subscribed, thank you very much for your support. It really is much appreciated. And if you haven't, please click subscribe and join me and we can have some fun. And also take time to leave a comment down below, any questions you might have. Tell me the things you want me to do. If there's things specifically you think I'd like to see Jamie do these things, let me know. I'm more than happy to try different things out and see how we go. And as you're probably well aware, there's no rehearsal here. I tend to just jump in with both feet and start the image, and we'll see where it takes us. So this is what I've ended up with. This is the King's Head pub on Bridge Street in Salisbury in Wiltshire in south of England. This pub was built in 1520 and it was called the King's Head when it was built. It did spend a period in the mid to late 1800s as the county hotel, but it was returned to the original name, the King's Head pub. So it's a lovely pub, great food. It's right by the River Avon, which is right next to it. And Salisbury is a beautiful city. And we visited there recently in my Medieval Cities workshop tour for 2024. This image, however, it was taken in 2017. Here's the original. I'm revisiting some of my older images, looking to use some of the new technology that we now find in Lightroom and Photoshop, and try and develop these images up. So this was taken with a Canon 6D in 2017. I was quite happy at the time, thought it was quite good. I look back now and think, wow, I overexposed the lights there a little bit. It was blue hour, and so the sky is tremendously blue. So in itself, it's an okay picture, but we can turn it into, something much more interesting, give it that sort of day to night look, but also do the sky replacement. I'll take you through that now in this video. If you want to follow along, I've put the raw image link down below. You're welcome to download and follow along. I'm not linking the sky because I'm still working on creating the perfect sort of sunset sky pack, which I will be releasing hopefully soon. I've been trying to find those perfect skies, and they are quite hard to come by, hence why I do sky replacements at the end of the day. Also, you can have a look at my website and see a little bit about me, the gear I shoot, etc. Happy for you to go there and have a look. And also you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. I've started a new Facebook channel at Cities and Landscapes, Friends of Jamie Mathlin. So you're welcome to join up to that Facebook page where you can share your images so I can see them as well, and we can have a chit chat and have some feedback on the images that you got. So feel free, the link's down below for that Facebook page to join me on that as well, and start sharing your images. Okay, let's get started. So I took this image, let's just have a look here. I took this image 2017, so yeah, it's 7, nearly 8 years old now, taken with a Canon 6D. So I was sort of looking back at some of my older pictures and thinking, well, can I use the technology that we now have in Photoshop and Lightroom to actually improve the image? Now, I took this image at the blue hour. As you can see, we have a very blue sky, which does lend itself very much to sky replacement because we have a nice contrasted edge. So let's start off by dropping down the highlights here and just having a look to see what we've got. Now, the highlights to -100. We're probably slightly overexposed on these lights here, and if we go that far we get a little bit of an unnatural look, so I'm just going to bring that up just a little bit so it doesn't look quite so unnatural. So we'll go highlights there, -84. I'm just going to open the shadows up a little bit as well. Just opens this area up over here. As you can see, the sky very blue, so that's looking pretty good. But what I will do, because this image was shot at 15th of a second handheld f4. I was pushing the very limits. It was getting quite dark. ISO 1600. I was using a 28mm f2. So anything more than sort of halfway through the scene here, as you can see, is struggling for focus. It's not too bad, but it's certainly struggling just a little bit. So let's go down to denoise and let's denoise this image. Now I have to say, 7 or 8 year old image, probably a 9-year-old camera. If we look here at 1600 ISO, really not a huge amount of noise. The older cameras struggled a little bit when you push the dynamic range, but certainly in terms of their ISO capabilities, they were very good. 60 was a full frame 20 megapixel sensor. It's very good camera. I enjoyed it a lot. I still shoot Canon. I now shoot R5, but I did have a little play for 4 or 5 years with Sony, and had some great times with those cameras. Yeah, certainly the A7R Mark IV, 61 megapixels of complete resolution craziness. I mean, that was an amazing camera. And you might say, well, why would you drop down to a Canon R5 at 45 megapixels? Well, one of the things I always found is that my computer struggled with 61 megapixels, particularly if you did a lot of work in Photoshop. You ended up with very large file sizes. Anyway, let's go to denoise. Let's open the denoise module. Now, the noise levels are quite low here, so I'm actually going to pick quite a low level. I'm going to go around about 35. And people often say to me in the comments, how do you know what to set the denoise level to? And I think it really comes down to the amount of noise that you see in the image. If you see a lot of noise, then bring it up a little bit more. If you're shooting at high ISOs, certainly past 1600, if you're 32 or 6400 ISO, bring it up a little, maybe 60%, 70%. But if your level of noise is relatively low, then you don't need to push it very hard. And having just shot that there, you can see what we're at 100%, and that's pretty clean image for 20 megapixels. I have to say that's pretty good. So, and that's the other good thing as well. You saw there shooting there at 20 megapixels, doing the denoise, 8 seconds to just do it. Sometimes with these 61 megapixel or bigger, if you go into the Fuji range with the GFX 100 megapixels, and you don't have the fastest computer in the world, denoise can take an awful lot of time to run through, 3, 4, 5 minutes or more. So it's always worth thinking, do I need all those megapixels? And the honest truth is, you don't really. The sweet spot is somewhere between 30 to 40. Pick yourself up a second-hand Sony A7R II. Fabulous sensor, 42 megapixels, really, really good. So, gear isn't the key to photography. I tend to say to people, having fun is the key to photography. So what should we do now? That we've sort of done the basics here. I want to do the sky replacement because we've got that blue sky. I also want to have a tidy up, remove some of these cables, alarm boxes, and I think these lines painted on the road are a little bit distracting. So we'll go over into Photoshop now and we'll do that. So we'll go over and we'll edit into Adobe Photoshop. Now I still use the beta version. I like using the latest version just to see what they've got, what new ideas and concepts. But all the things I'm going to show you today are in the standard version of Photoshop 25. So don't worry yourself too much there. So let's have a tidy up first and clear up any issues. And I certainly don't like this sign sat right in the middle here over on this side. So let's deal with that first. So let me just zoom in. Oh, zooming out there. Let me just zoom in on there. So you select the magnifying glass over here, the zoom tool, and then that gives you either a positive or a negative, depending on up here in the top left corner, whether you go positive or negative. If you go positive, you can zoom in. If you hold down the Alt or Option key on a Mac, you can do the opposite. So you can see it changes from negative to positive. So let's hold the spacebar down, move this to the center so we know what we're dealing with. So I'm going to go into the lasso tool over here. L opens the lasso tool. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to the polygonal. Okay, that means I can draw straight lines, and I'm just going to come in nice and tight on this sign because I want to keep as much detail in the scene as possible. So I'm just going to come in on this sign like so. And we're just going to go around nice and tight, and then we're going to use generative fill to remove this because it's a little bit more little bit more detailed than perhaps we'd normally do with a remove tool. So I've gone around and selected it. Your little box pops up here with generative fill available. If that doesn't pop up, go into Windows, and it's called the contextual text bar, and you can turn that on or off from the Windows here, the Windows menu, contextual text bar. So I'm going to click on generative fill, and then I'm not going to put anything in the box. I'm just going to click generate. There we go. So it gives you three options, which we can see over here on the right in the properties panel. Also to note, don't do too big an area with generative fill, because you're still limited to 1024 pixels. And if you go much more than that, you'll lose the resolution. So that's option 1. That's option 2. The window, they filled the bottom of the window in very well. Option 3, that's even better fill on that window there. So I think, should I go with 1? Or should I go with, I'm going to go with number 3. And also, if you look inside the option box, you'll see there's 3 little icons. There's 3 dots in the top right corner, which where you can give some feedback to Adobe to say, yeah, that's good. Or you can click again and it will generate something similar to that particular option. You can generate another one. I'm just going to say, hey, that's good. And then it does open a window and you can answer the questions. But I'm just going to say, I'm going to include the image. I think it's important we share with Adobe so that they can learn and build their AI models. If you don't share. It's absolutely fine. I would use this. I strongly agree. I would use that. The result matches my text prompt. I didn't use a text prompt. The result looks believable. Yeah, I agree with that. And the result blends well with the rest of the image. I agree with that as well. So I'm just going to send my feedback. And a lot of people, are sort of a little bit anti-Adobe, mainly because there's an ongoing subscription charge, which I sort of agree with. We should be able to buy the software. However, they do put a lot of effort into their software, and we do get a lot of updates, a lot of changes. So, for the cost of a couple of cups of coffee a month, I actually find that it's very, very good value. But you have to make your own choices at the end of the day. Also, inside this box, you'll find that there's obviously delete button there, but in the top left corner, you click on this to enhance the detail. And if the area is big enough and you click on that, it does improve it by about 50%, the actual resolution of that particular shot. And as you can see here, we're zoomed in quite tight, and you would never know that was there. Yeah. So I'm just going to bring these 2 layers together because I'm okay with the fill that it's done. So I'm just right click on any of the layers here, and then I'm just going to say merge the visible, and it will bring them together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the remove tool now. So click on remove tool, press J, you can do. If you right click, it will give you the different options, but I'm going to select the remove tool, and I'm just going to take out these cables on the wall. Now, make sure you've got sample or layers clicked. I tend to leave it in auto so it can decide whether to use generative AI or not. Generally, it doesn't. It's only when the areas are bigger that you're asking it to do. And I don't tick remove after each stroke because I want to be able to draw straight lines with my remove tool. So, for example, I'll click here and then I'll hold down the shift key and click here, and I can get a little straight line there, hit the check mark, and it will then deal with these areas here. If it doesn't get rid of it first time, just go over it again, and you can just work your way over it to remove it. There's an alarm box there, so let's make this a little bit bigger. I'm using the square brackets to the left of the return key just to make the brush a little bit bigger. So just go around there so I can remove that. I'm going to take out this. That's probably a menu, I suspect, on the window here. Go around and take that out. There's an illuminated menu on the window there. Let's see if we can get rid of that. People say, well, why do you change everything? Why do you want to change everything? Well, I'm just having fun. That's all I'm doing. And generative fill and the remove tool is an awful lot of fun, I must admit. CCTV camera there up on the wall. Let's get rid of that. And is there anything else over here in this scene? I think this white panel, I think it's the face of a rubbish bin, a garbage bin. I'm just going to take that out as well because it's just a little bit distracting having that white image over there in the far side. So that's good. Holding down the space bar to move over. So anything else I want to remove? I'm just going to remove that cable that coming across there. We're going to do this cable here. So same thing, I'll click and then I'll shift click to get the straight lines. Same here, click, shift click just to the top of that, the D, And there we go, hit the check mark. It'll do those three things. There you go, not too bad. Little bit left on this one. Make the brush slightly bigger, and we'll try again with that one. Maybe a little bit off of that one as well. And let's check the check mark. Okay, it doesn't want to remove that. It has taken the edge of the sign off there, so I'm just going to undo that with Control or Command Z or Z to just remove that. We can deal with that with generative AI. We can go up into the option here, generative AI, switch it on, and then what we can do is we can come in there and deal with that. Let's see if that works any better. Now, of course, when you use generative AI, you do use one of your tokens, and if you use the photographer pack, Lightroom and Photoshop pack together, you get 250 a month, which I think is actually quite reasonable. And you can see I do this an awful lot. I have a lot of fun with this, and I've never actually got to the 250 limit, because most things you can do with the remove tool. You don't really need to go and spend your tokens, only if you're really struggling with a problem. So let's just take out a few of these things on here. Let's take out the alarm box. Let's definitely do. You know what I'm like with alarm boxes. They serve a very good purpose, but you got these lovely old buildings, and at the end of the day, I didn't take out the shadow. There you go. I must take out the shadow as well. Let's check that. I'm going to leave the bridge street because that's where we are. Let's have a go at removing this little white box up here. So I'm just going to paint over the white box. And the good thing about remove tool is when there's shapes coming through and coming out of your shot, it tends to understand, that they are objects you want to keep. There you go. And even though I painted all over it, I got rid of the white box. So let's get rid of this line. So click, shift, click, and same over here. Click, shift, click, and then hit the check mark, and hopefully that will get rid of those. A little bit of a line left on that one. We'll do one more pass on that one. I think we'll also do that one as well whilst we're here. It's a shame that people, run cables and drill holes in these wonderful old buildings. Really it should be done from the inside, and then you wouldn't see it on the outside of the building. But they want lots of lights up. It is a pub after all. They don't want anybody falling over out there. So it struggles to remove that one. Same thing again. We can go to the AI on. We can make that selection same way, and we can ask generative fill to remove that particular cable. So just let it do that. Whilst it's doing that, let's have a think. Is there anything else? There we go. It's done a good job there. Nothing else really. We want to do these lines in the road. Now, these lines in the road, you can use the remove tool. Another tool that works quite well is the spot healing brush. We can do that. So again, use the square brackets just to make it bigger, and we can just heal those lines in the road using the heal brush. Now, why do you say, well, why don't you just use the remove tool? Well, the heal brush looks at the surface, the area that you're working in, and if it's a plane surface like this tarmac surface here, it's able to compute quite easily a way to deal with it, so it can match the colors quite well. So we go around here, just do this bit. There we go. I might leave the zebra crossing in because it is part of that. Just remove the lines that come out there. Didn't do so good there, so I'm just going to undo that. Control Z. There we go. And then I'm going to just change that over to the remove tool, which seems to be able to deal with different sort of color contrast. So I'm just going to select that, hit the check mark again, and let it do its magic and see what it comes up with. The AI is still switched on for generative fill. Yeah, it's done a good job there. So I'm just going to pop that back to auto, and then let's have a go at removing the lines over here. So I'm just going to paint that as we come up here. Bring it to that line. Let's give it a go with that. Just let the remove tool do its job. So just take a few seconds there. Not too bad. I'm just going to get rid of these little white marks as well. There's a couple on the pavement here, on the sidewalk, as you would say in the US. That's okay. A little bit of litter, or again garbage. Just pick that up as well. So I'm just going to select that. Now, the problem I always have when I start using the remove tool is I find it quite therapeutic, to be honest. And I do have quite a good time removing things and just sort of changing things around. I find it great fun. And it makes for a better image at the end of the day. If you are, going to print your image or share your image quite large, it's worth just going into the little detail and, picking up on some of these things that can be quite distracting. If you print it quite large as well, your image, then that bit of garbage that you saw on the sidewalk, I'm getting Americanized here, I'm afraid. So the rubbish on the pavement, that could be 2 or 3 inches in size if you blew up a large image. So it's not always the best thing to do, is to leave it in there. It's the best sometimes to just focus and take some of these things out. So just working my way up here. This is a little bit more interesting, and of course we've got a change of contour in the road, so we can soften that road change as well, and I'll show you how we can do that. So remove tool's done a good job there. So just going to take out this bit here. Select this. You see where the line used to be painted on the road. I think it's a bus stop set of lines. So just select those two. So we're still in the remove tool at the moment. Okay, just zoom back there quickly. So just got a few lines left over here, and I'll show you how to soften this edge. So a good tool, if you go into the remove tool, right click and go to the patch tool, what we can do is we can draw effectively a little box, just get all the bits we don't want in there, go up to the end and then come back over here. I'm just going to go around that a little bit there and then come back to where we were. So we've just made a selection. Now, rather than pressing generative fill, because we're in the patch tool, what we can do is we can slide this whole thing over like so. And when we let go, it will recalculate the surface. So if I just remove that with Command or Control D, you can see that we've smoothed that joint. Also, where we did some of that removing over here, you can see there is a little bit of a mark left. So again, we just go around it. We're still in the patch tool. We just go around it like that, and then we just move this over to a different point, and it recomputes. Command D to undo the selection. Can you see? It's actually very good at dealing with, particularly when you've got quite plain surfaces. It's actually very good at dealing with it. There we go. Command D again to remove it. It's really very good indeed. I'm just going to do the same here again, just around this little bit, because there's still quite a bit of roughness in the road there. So just select that, pull that away, let go, and it will Command D, and you can see it's really good at it. I'm going to do one more pass just on this rough bit here, and then we'll pull it this way this time. Look, we can come this way, let go, and Command D to undo. That's not so good, that one. So Control Z or Command Z just to undo that. We'll go the other way instead. We'll go up this way and put it up here. It's a bit rough there, so don't like that. We'll go over here. So I'm just moving it around until I find a space that I quite like. Now I have got the edge of the bus stop line in there, and I've also got the edge of the screen on that one, so that's still not good. So just keep moving it around till you find something that, that's better. Control D to undo. Right, let's try and use the patch tool on this part of the bus writing here. Let's come up through there. Let's try not to go up onto the curbstone. So we've made that selection. We've moved it over here. We'll let go. Command D. There we go. I mean, it's fabulous. You can even use it for just using the line. So what I'm showing you is you don't have to just use the remove tool or the healing tool. Some of the old tools that have been with us for many years are actually extremely good at dealing with these sort of things. It's a little bit dark in there, so I'm just going to take one more pass there, and we'll just pull that over here. Okay, there we go. Right. So, is there anything else that we need to do here? I don't think so. I think we can do the sky replacement now. I'm just going to take the the aerial off the roof. So make sure we're in the remove tool. Let's zoom in up there. Hold down the space bar to move to the direction that we want. So I think that's the top of the Salisbury Cathedral in the distance, just the top of the spire, just sort of poking over the top. But I'm just going to take that off. From there, remove this aerial or antenna, as you guys say. Just hit the check mark. That's better. I'm going to remove that gutter as well, the downpipe from the gutter up there. So just still in the remove tool, shift click to get that straight line that we tend to use. Looks like people are having a good evening here. Let some people out the back, and I did notice that there are some people in here. There's a sign on the door, fire exit sign. Let's just remove that. So we've got a nice wooden door. There we go. Zoom tool, let's hit fit screen. Let's go back to there. Now let's do the sky replacement. So let's go to edit, sky replacement. And I've already pre-selected a sky in here, but there are skies built into Photoshop, and I've got my own skies here. And hopefully shortly I'll be able to put my new sky pack up with some really great sunsets and sunrises. But I'm just going to use my sky that I've got here. And I want to see, because we had such a high contrast edge, I want to see a nice sharp edge on the edge here. So I'm just going to whip through these. I do show people quite often, take time to explain everything here. But the shift edge just means how much focus is put on the edge. If I go to the right, you'll find that it will bleed into the, if I go to the left, you'll find that you'll end up with part of that blue sky still shining. So when you first select sky replacement, it does do a pretty good job at finding that point. So I'm just going to go a little bit to the right there. The fade edge, if I move all the way to the left, you can see that there's a little bit of a halo around on the sky. And if I go all the way, if I went all the way to the right, I get the halo. If I go all the way to the left, I get a stronger edge, but then I get more of that bleed. Now in this case, I'm happy to have a little bit of bleed because I want the color of the sky to move in on that area. Now, I can flip it, the whole image left to right. So if I use the flip there, check that box, we can get, and that works well. We've got a nice bright sky over here, a little bit darker over this side. I can also add or remove the color to the sky. So if I go left, I get more blue with that sunset, or if I go right, I get that more orange sky. So let's find somewhere in the middle. We've got the blue, we've got the fiery colors in the sky. Now you have this lighting mode, multiply and screen. A lot of people click it to see, okay, I'll try the other one. And then they click it and they go, oh, that looks awful, right? But it's giving you the opposite effect. The screen and multiply do the opposite in terms of where we are. So you have to change your fade edge and your foreground lighting to compensate. So if I put the fade edge down the other way, that sort of lightens the sky up a little bit. And if I bring the foreground lighting up, you can see it darkens down. So perhaps we'll bring that fade edge up a little bit more. So although we're in, actually we can have quite high on that fade edge with this one. And you've also got edge lighting down here. So if I move that from left to right, you can see the effect that has on the sky. So if I move that to the right, you can see now we've actually got quite a good edge definition for the sky, and we're in screen. If I change it back to multiply, it's where we were previously. You know, you've got a different effect. So multiply and screen have very strong characteristics which you can use depending on the image that you've got. Sometimes the foreground can be bright and the background can be darker, and therefore screen works very, very well for that. So let me just find that edge where I'm happy with. Got the edge lighting. Let's bring the edge lighting up a little bit maybe. No, actually I'm going to go down at 80. Foreground lighting, you can see moving that to the right darkens down the roof a little bit. So let's put that somewhere in the middle. And then color adjustment, adjust the foreground to match the sky. If I go all the way to the right, we'll get quite an orange effect from the sky. So if I go all the way to the right, it's quite an orange effect. There's already enough orange from the lights here, so I'm actually going to keep the color adjustment quite high. And the last thing is your output. You've got new layers or duplicate layers. If you select new layers, when you click OK, you will get all the layers for all the different elements of the sky replacement, and then you can adjust them separately if you want to. I find that if I've got what I'm looking for here in the module, generally I don't want to fiddle with it anymore, so I just select duplicate layer and I click OK, and you'll see that it will create a background copy which is actually now the main image. If I turn that off, the eye off for that one, you'll see there's the original image and there's the image that we've got. So the background image is no longer required, so I delete it. And the reason I do that is I just try to keep my file sizes a little bit smaller, and I've got that other layer already in Lightroom. I don't need another copy of it in the background within the file, so to make the file much larger. Okay, so happy with that. So we're going to put this back into Lightroom. So I'm going to click File, Save. So now we're back in Lightroom. There we go. People having a good time in there. It's all nicely lit up because we did actually try to expose for the brighter sky. So we got good contrast, good dynamic range inside the building. So let's just finish this off. Now, what I do want to do is I want to sort out the perspective. So let's just go down to perspective here, go down to transform, and we can just click auto, and that will straighten that up. And actually that did quite a good job. I don't think I need to do my normal guided approach here. So I'm happy with auto. We're going to just adjust some of the colors here. So I want to adjust the oranges on the building and bring those down, but I want to keep the orange in the sky. So it's a little trick here that we can use. And what that is we can go into masks, we can select the sky, okay? And now it's effectively selected the sky. But what we can do is, instead of saying, okay, now, you know, we're going to work on the sky, what we can now do is click invert. See this select sky, click invert, and it will actually now pick the buildings. Okay, so now we've got that selection of the sky, there we go, which is now inverted. Okay, that gives us this area here. That means that's the area that we can adjust. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the three dots here and intersect this mask with a linear gradient from the bottom up. Okay, so just going to select that linear gradient. There it is there. So if you turn it over, you get the opposite. You get all the effect at the bottom, 100%, nothing down the bottom. So if I hover over the mask, you can see that, and if I make this smaller, let's just show you what I'm talking about. If I make that smaller, if I hover over the mask there, you can see we got most of the effect in the top and no effect at the bottom. So just on the selection that we've made. So I'm just going to bring that down here. So now we've got that mask in place, there it is. We can detune the oranges here, okay? So I can bring down the saturation a little bit. That works quite well. And I can bring the temp down a little bit just to break away a little bit of that really high orange that we've got in there. I can also go to the hue slider here, and if I click fine adjustments, I can just alter. So you've got more red, look, more green. You can alter the color of the lights to where you think you want to be. So I'm actually just going to give it just a slight bit of orange, sort of more golden effect as we look at it. That looks fine. Okay, I'm going to create another mask. I'm going to select the sky again, but I want a tight edge on this selection. At the moment, you can see it's pulling over the roof a little bit. What we can do is, now we've selected the sky, go to the three dots, and then intersect the sky with the sky. Strangely, it's a little trick, but it works, and you can see it's really taken to the edge quite well there, and it's given us a better line definition for the sky. So now we're on the sky. I'm going to pop in some contrast in that sky. Let's make that sky really pop. There we go. I'm going to just maybe open up the shadows just a little bit, so it just brings a bit more sort of brightness into that part of the sky. I'm definitely going to add a little bit more saturation, not too much. And really importantly, I'm going to go down to clarity, and I'm going to give it a whole handful of clarity. I really do like how clarity affects the sky. That looks really, really nice there. I'm going to create another mask, take a brush this time. And what I want to do is this area over here, I want to sort of darken that down a little bit. Okay, so when I select the brush, in the settings, I want to make sure auto mask is on. I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger, and then I'm just going to paint over that area there. We've got the flow quite low, and we've got quite a bit of feather on it. I just want to just gently, as you can see, there's ever so slight mask been applied there, and I'm just going to bring the highlights down just a little bit, because it's, well, actually I'm going to bring the highlights down all the way just to bring that back in there, add some contrast to that sky, and definitely a bit more clarity to that area over there, and that looks really nice now. Okay, so we're pretty well there. So I'm just going to do a crop. Have a look at the crop. I'm going to make sure the padlock is open. Click on the word original, and then I can pick a fixed size here. I'm going to go with 1610 because I like 1610. That works quite well. Let's try 16:9. That works as well, but we've lost a lot of that sky, even though it's sort of this very wide shot. So I'm actually going to go back to 16:10, and we will just get that sky back in the shot. There we go. So that works very well. So just going to hit return to accept that. So just to finish this image off, we just need to sort of brighten up where the lights were. Although we spent all that time bringing them down, now we can be selective in how we bring that light back up again. So I'm going to go back into mask. I'm going to create a radial gradient, and I'm just going to pull a radial gradient along the front of this building here, brightest at this point. Just turn it so it runs down the street, down there. That works quite well. And then I'm just going to bring up the contrast a little bit, and I'm going to bring up the exposure so those lights are nice and bright again, so they look quite very realistic. A little bit off the highlights, that works fine. And I'm definitely going to add some clarity to the wall here, so it just sort of makes that light work very, very well. I'm going to right click on this one. I'm going to duplicate this mask, because what I'm going to do is going to do the same round here. I'm going to turn it round the corner, change the direction, make it a little bit smaller this time, and just bring it in on those lights there. And so we've got the same settings because we moved it over. It is a little bit, if you look here, the light it's a bit underexposed there. So let's just raise up the highlights just a little bit more on this side. There we go, just so that looks a little bit better. It's a bit bright there, so let's be cautious. I'm going to create another mask and another radial gradient specifically to deal with this little bit on the wall here. So I'm just going to put a little radial under there and bring up the exposure. You see that? Just to sort of make that work, because it didn't quite look right, but that looks a lot better. Maybe going back into that mask 5, just make it a little bit longer. There we go. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's add a bit of clarity. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I could do some more day to night here. I could brighten up the windows upstairs, but what we will do, just to finish off, is I'll show you how we can brighten up the room, make the room look a little bit better. Go back into masks, create a new mask, select object, okay, and then take a reasonable size brush here, and then what we're going to do is just go around the edge of the window, staying over the black frame, but then just round here, and we'll come across here, and then we'll just fill that in. There we go. And then what we can do now is brighten that up, right? So let's add some exposure inside there, a little bit of contrast. Let's open the shadows up inside that room. Definitely want to put in some clarity inside. There we go. That works very well. So that's brightened up. Now, we could do the same to the other windows. Now, rather than having another object, whilst you're in this mask, marks number 6, object 1, just go to add, go to objects again, make your brush a little bit smaller, and then just paint the next window along. Because it's inside that mask, it will duplicate the effect that you had on the first window. You won't need to make any changes. There you go, you see, and then we can add another one. So we go to objects, and we'll do this window down here. Same thing, just sort of cutting around the edge, fill that window in, and then there you go. Last window up here, add the object, select that. And I think a lot of people really underestimate or don't even use the object selection for these types of things. They tend to think, oh, well, it's for picking out a person or a vehicle or something. But actually, the power of the object selection tool is incredible at what you can do with it. There you go. That's all lit up nice. I'm just going to do the door as well. So add one more. Go to object. We're going to pick up the door here. There we go. We'll just brighten up the doorway. That works very, very well. I want to put a little bit of light, I think, coming out the door there. New mask. Radial gradient. we're just going to take a little radial, turn it in the direction the light would come out the door there, just make it a little bit bigger. There you go, like so. And then what we'll do is we will brighten that up. So let's just go to exposure. I'll brighten that up. Let's add just a little bit of temp in there to change the color. If I don't want that bit lit up there, I can, inside that mask, just subtract a brush. I'll have relatively low flow in the middle. We'll turn the feather down to 0, so we've got a nice hard edge. We'll just zoom in on that area there. Just hold down the, that's it. And what we can do is we can literally just come in here and just take that away, just from that area there. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with this, I have to say. That window's a bit bright. So let's just go to object selection. Let's select that window with the object selection. There we go. And let's just darken it down a little bit. There we go. So it's not sort of standing out so much over there. So let's just finish this image off. I think I'm going to take a linear gradient from the top right corner up here and just bring in a little bit of a sort of darkness up there, add in a bit of blue, and I think we'll add in a little bit more clarity to that top there. It really makes that pop. And let's put a little bit on the road down the bottom here. So again, create another linear gradient and just pull it up from the bottom here. We'll run it in line with the curve like that. And what we can do, same thing, we'll just darken that down a little bit. Draw us into the image if you wish. And I think that works well. And maybe we'll do the same on this bottom right corner. So linear gradient, let's just take that up through there, just darken that off in that corner. It's very blue here, so I'm just going to add a little bit more temp in there just to keep those colors coming through. It's a sort of similar color. And then just to finish off, we will do the overall look at the scene. So I'm going to just brighten the scene slightly, drop the highlights just a little bit to keep that light contrast that we've got. I'm going to drop the saturation down quite a bit. I'm going to come down about -30. But what I'm going to do is then bring up the vibrance. So we can have the color contrast in the image. You see how these purples and blues and things are sort of pulled out in the sky. Probably a bit much, so we can back that off just a little bit. And maybe bring the saturation up just a little bit to get some of that color back. And then the overall scene, I'm just going to take it slightly more to the blue. That's nice. The colors in the sky are incredible, actually. Let's just drop the vibrance back a little bit more. Find that balance between saturation and there we go. The blues are quite strong, so I'm just going down to the color mixer in saturation. I'm just going to back the blues off just a little bit, and I'm going to bring up the yellows just a little bit. There we go. Maybe a bit of red just to bring that sky really alive. Yeah, I'm going to say probably, yeah, I'm happy with that. Do we need to put a post-crop vignette in? Let's just try. So let's go down to about a -15, bring the feather up to 100. Then go back up to the top and just brighten the whole scene up a little bit more. You know what? No, I don't like those. So Command or Control Z, take us back to where we were before the post-crop vignette. And just add some clarity to the scene, not too much. A little bit of texture, just to bring that alive. And I'm just going to sharpen the image ever so slightly because it was 20 megapixel and it was at f4. So I'm just going to bring up the sharpening a little bit as well, just to make that pop. I am going to say we are done. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, click like. I'm trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already subscribed, it'd be great for you to join me to make that milestone. I never thought I would get to that point. So thank you very much if you have already subscribed for your support. It's very much appreciated. If you've got any comments, any questions or any tips you want to give me, feel free to put them in the comments down below and tell me what you think about sky replacement. Is it something that you do? Is it something you enjoy using? Particularly if you've shot your own skies as well, you can bring two together in a composite. I'll be interested to know what you think about it. But for now, thank you for your time. I'm going to say bye-bye.